OCLionsFan.com. We are doing a match preview for the U.S. Open Cup versus Columbus. It's going to be June 30th. It's a Tuesday, so another midweek game, but that's all right. We didn't play this weekend. Today we have Ron with us as usual. Hey, Ron.
Hey, guys.
And we have a special guest. Coming from all the way across the pond. We have Baz from the MLS Show, so you can find him on Twitter at the MLS Show. Say hey.
Afternoon.
There you go.
Good morning, rather, where you are.
Yeah, we're like mid. I'm almost midday. Yeah. So happy to have a special guest this week, especially from across the pond. So as most of you know, we've played Columbus twice. Both games have had red cards. They whooped us bad when we went up there. When Ramos went out super early. When they came to us, they were down a man most of the game, but we were losing most of the game, and then Ribeiro had the magical, from distance goal that brought us back in. So we have a budding rivalry with Columbus as far as most of the Orlando City fans that I've spoken to are concerned. I personally don't like Columbus. They are a good team. They're led by, as all of you know, Kai Kamara, 12 goals this year in MLS, so he leads the league. And Ethan Finley, 10 assists. He also leads the league. And then, they have Higuain. And last time we previewed them, I said Higuain was Gonzalo Higuain, and that's my bad. It's Federico Higuain. Obviously, I'd much prefer them to have Federico than Gonzalo, because if they had Kamara and Gonzalo, we would all be in big trouble. So, with that said, let's start the match preview. Ron, I'll let you take the floor about who you think will come into the squad this week, because, Laren and Sarin are out. Shea's injured.
It's going to be tough. I think Columbus, I think we talked about, their coach said they might rotate some players. So if we're going to have to play one of our strongest 11s if we're going to have a chance in this. I mean, if we come with a squad full of reserves, we could get embarrassed, and I don't think that would be a good look for ownership to tell the fans that we're now in the round of 16 and we're still not taking it seriously. So you might see a couple reserves, but I think you're going to see a general strong 11. You might see Lewis Neal fill in for Sarin. And then you might see Avila back at right mid if he's healthy enough, or you could put Akugo in there, but I think Akugo's in the doghouse. And then you'll see Ribeiro up top since Laren's gone.
All right, and Baz, based on what Ron said, how would you feel about Orlando City's lineup versus Columbus?
Yeah, a bit disappointing that obviously the likes of Shea will be out. I know we had a little bit of a discussion about Breck Shea, his strengths and his lack of strength, shall we say? But he's gonna be a big miss, I feel, because even though he's been a little bit up and down this season, his energy, up and down that left-hand side, I think, like I said to you the other day, creates space for other players. Laren will be a big miss. I know he's kind of finding his feet. Goals have been, he's been a man who's been able to put the ball in the back of the net regularly, more regularly than anybody else. So when you're taking someone out of your team who gets you goals, you're always gonna find it more difficult. Ribeiro coming in up front, he's a strong lad, but he hasn't got the movement, the mobility of what Laren is. So it's obviously going to be a bigger ask than say they had the full strength side out, but at home, why not?
All right, and I just rewatched a little bit of the last game, just on the highlights, what I could find, and Kamara's goal was as good as it gets, and everybody knows who Kai Kamara is. Just I'll start with you, Baz, and then I'll go to Ron. What are your thoughts about Orlando City's defense and what they need to do to maybe contain Kamara? Because I don't know that anybody has really stopped him all year.
I actually see him playing for Norwich City. He scored his only goal in the Premier League against my team, Everton, when he was on. Which, if you know anything about Everton, that normally happens. So I think Kamara's big strength for me is obviously in the air. I think he's very, very aggressive. He's a good header of the ball. So I think for us to be able to cope with him in this game we've got to stop crosses into the box. It sounds basic, but if you cut the supply off to him, he becomes half the player, shall we say. I think if you're allowing him to get a run on your defenders and get headers in, you're going to struggle. So I think for me the key areas will be stopping the crosses, stopping the supply into Kamara. If he can do that, there's half the battle won.
All right, and Ron, you have a follow-up comment about the defense stopping Kamara?
Well, obviously, if you stop the service into him, that's half the battle. But if I think we're realistic, I don't think we're going to stop all the service, obviously. So, last time we played them, we had Hines and St. Ledger in the back, and the Chani scored on over Ramos with a big header, and we can't have Ramos cover anybody aerially in the box. So
no.
Just Hines and St. Ledger, and especially Tally Hall. I've seen some miscommunication at the back with Tally Hall this year. So those three just have to be on the same page. They have to sort out who's making runs, where they are, because we need St. Ledger and Hines to take, especially Kamara, or if Chani comes flying in there, you're going to need him too. So it's just good communication in the back, and try to stop as many crosses as you can.
All right, well, obviously I agree, so we'll just move on. We saw Hines and St. Ledger last time we played them, and they were formidable, not great. So what do you guys, I'll go to Baz first, and then I'll go to Ron. What do you think about Rivas coming in on the left wing for Shea and his possibility to impact the game?
Yeah, he's a tough one for me, Rivas, because he's got that pace. He looks like half the time he looks fantastic, and the other half the time I said this to you off air, his pass selection, his decision making isn't up there. I think if he can get, his decision making can be a little bit better, I think he could be a hell of a player because he's a live wire. He's quick. I think he can do that job wide left naturally because he tends to drift out of those wide areas anyway. But again, it's all about his decision making in the final third, and that's kind of what separates the average players from the good players, shall we say? And yeah, I think he can do okay down that left hand side. But again, he may be an unknown quantity that is turns into be a match winner in a game like this. You see, so who knows? Fingers crossed, his decision making is better this time out.
And Ron?
Well, I'm a big Carlos Rivas fan just because I don't really care if he sends three shots into orbit. That doesn't really bother me. I like that he's aggressive. I like that he is assertive and is willing to take things on his own because I think that we don't have a lot of players that do that besides Kaká. So I think Carlos Rivas really makes Kaká better, and with a good Kaká, we're a completely different team. So with Rivas playing so wide, we finally have the through ball integrated into the attack, which we never have had this year without Rivas on the field. I've been calling for Shea to sit down for probably a month now, and I didn't know he was hurt a month ago, but I know he wasn't playing very well. And, obviously Rivas' decision-making, sometimes he does too much on his own, but when he gets to play a full game, he really gets to find his rhythm, because if you bring him in the last 15 minutes, he's trying to just create something, and he's trying too hard. But if you can give him, 70 or 80 minutes on the left side, he gives us a weapon that not a lot of teams in this league have with his pace. And I just like it that he elevates the game from others around him, even if he is not playing at his best. And, I saw Kaká. Kaká had an extra gear last week. I hadn't seen him run that fast all season because you have to keep up with Rivas. So, if it makes Kaká better, it makes the team better, I'm all for it. And I want to see more Rivas. I think he'll be fine while Shea's out.
I guess, Ron's more confident than Baz is from just based on their comments, and I think that I lay somewhere in the middle of them, and I'm happy to see Rivas. I like Rivas as a player, and, he's here on a 5-year deal. He is our designated player. We pay him a bunch of money, and I think he has underperformed in his limited chances that he's had. And I really don't like, Ron says he doesn't mind that he kicks balls in orbit. I really don't like that he kicks balls in orbit. He's not a field goal kicker. It's not for 3 points. Like, I want him to be I know not every player can always have a very accurate shot. But, there's a big difference between being 6 inches wide, 6 inches above, or being 25 feet off. It's just, at a professional level, I would just hope that, his accuracy would be a little bit better than to kicking the ball into the third row of the wall, at home. It's just, it's great. It's at least he's taking the shots. I 100% agree with that, and I 100% agree that he's a live wire and he's totally electric. But at this level, although it might not be the highest level of soccer and might not be the best league in the world, but he's still a professional, and I don't think that a professional should be kicking the ball into the third row of the stands on a consistent basis. Every now and again, fair enough, everyone has their faults, nobody's perfect, but when you just, at this point in time, it just seems to me that more shots he takes, they just go up into the stands over and over again. And as a supporter and just as a fan of soccer generally, I don't think that is a professional level. And I know he came here and he needed to make an adjustment in the language and in the living and learning how to live in Orlando and adjusting to his new teammates, and I'm fine with all of that. But that doesn't excuse his performance on the field and his shots going into the third row of the stadium. It's just inexcusable to me. You can miss, you can be off frame, that's fine, but at what point is the gap of quality? You can't be kicking balls into the stands as a professional player. So that's just where I said I'm happy that he's going to come on. Shea has been out of form, and I joke about Rivas being a field goal kicker, so I just think it's funny more than anything else. So anyway, we'll move on. Happy to see Rivas. So we'll just I just have one more talking point, and if the guys have anything that they want to mention that I missed, we'll do that, and then we will go straight for predictions. So my last point is, Columbus has scored more than 2 goals in 3 straight games, and to me that's a concern, because when you have your players that are your stronger players in form and scoring goals against Hines, although formidable, he is the backup on this team. St. Ledger and Colin are the starters, in my mind. I mean, you can debate it however which way you want. Everyone has started pretty much equally, but I much prefer Colin and St. Ledger. So, with their goal-scoring form, how do you guys think that Orlando City can slow them down other than Kamara? Because they have other good players who also score goals, but Kamara does get a bulk. So I guess this question is more about their other players and what Orlando City needs to do to slow down the rest of their attack outside of Kamara, since we already talked about him. And Ron, I'll go to you first.
I don't know that you can necessarily completely shut them down. We're gonna play our possession ball control game. We're gonna limit the amount of time they have the ball, and which is hard to do against Columbus because they play the exact same style against us. It's never going to be a good matchup for us. But they just have to. The defensive midfielders have to obviously take over and be huge. Higuita's going to have to be one of the best players on the field probably to shut them down. And like I said before, as long as they communicate good in the back, it might be a game that you just have to outscore them 3-2. I mean, you rarely beat Columbus 1-0. So part of your best defense might be your offense.
So you think we should just keep the ball away from them as much as we can?
Well, yeah, but that's what we do anyways.
Yeah. Bas?
Yeah, again, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because obviously without a full-strength side, you're looking at different ways to win football matches. I think you mentioned there that the threat comes not only from Kamara, but it comes from Higuain, and other players like this. And I think, like Ron said, your defensive midfield players have got a big role to play in this. Make sure there's no gaps. If we can stop the crosses from wide areas, as many as we can, obviously, again, like Ron said before, you're never going to have 100% block rate on crosses, but, you cut that down, keep it nice and compact through the middle. And then, this is where the likes of Rivas, that comes into it then, because when the ball turns over and you break their play down, we get it into Kaka's feet. Rivas is the one who's got to be giving us that option down the left-hand side, rather. We'll be looking for Ramos down the right-hand side to be joining in as much as possible. they're the kind of they're how you break these sides down, and it could well come down to the likes of Rivas, that little bit of explosiveness. Maybe he has a shot that goes 6 inches under the bar this time, not 6 feet. Right? 6 inches under the bar this time from 25 yards, and it's a match winner. Again, Ron may be right. It may be a case of, we've got to score more than you. Obviously, that's in every football game, but I'm talking goals-wise. But for me, I would like to see them nice and compact. Feel a game out. Don't give them anything cheaply early on. Get hold of the ball like we like to do. Keep it, pass it round. Everything else will come into play, which gives Orlando an advantage. Your home, the humidity, everything else. Make them do the chasing. Keep the ball and make them do the chasing. And we do it well, and we're nice and compact, then there's no reason why, okay, we're missing 3 or 4 players, but there's no reason why you can't come out on top in this, and we were talking, heard you talking off air when I joined you before about the importance of the game, and I don't think, there should be any game at the moment that we're just throwing up, we're just giving up, saying, okay, we're in the playoff positions in MLS, that's great, in the league, the US Open Cup, it's our first season, whatever, in terms of being full-time in MLS, but got a really good chance here of doing something, and there's only 3 trophies you can win in a season, and this is one of them, and hey, why not? Get through this one, and who knows, but the home advantage, get the crowd behind them, and see where we go from there.
And just to follow up on his final point, last night, after Columbus's game versus Real Salt Lake, one of the reporters, I don't know exactly who it was, asked Columbus's head coach, what do you think about playing in Orlando? And he said that the fans make it really hostile, and it's loud in there, and it's really hot down there. So I think that's an advantage that we have. Just weather-wise, it's going to be humid, it's going to be hot. We're coming off rest. They're not coming off rest. They've actually played a late game last night. I think it was in Salt Lake too.
Salt Lake.
Yeah. So they got to travel back to Columbus and then to here on short rest. So I think that's a total advantage for us. But is there any other things that you guys think would give Orlando City or Columbus the advantage either way? Ron?
No, I think every advantage is in our favor. I don't think you can pick something out and say, well, there's an edge to Columbus. Like you said, they're on short rest. They're coming off a long road trip. It's in our backyard. It's our weather, especially if they rotate some guys and put in some reserves. We have to win this game. This game is to lose almost. So.
Yeah, and in my opinion, other than the opener, which was just an inaugural MLS game, you can't really have a bigger game than this one. So that's just my take on it. I think this is the biggest game we've played since March 7th, just me personally. But back to the original question, guys, any advantages you think Orlando City has or Columbus has either way?
Just what we said, the weather, the crowd, and certainly the rest period. It's going to be kind of 6 days since the last game. That's a big advantage, and certainly over here in England we talk about, rest days for teams that are only having to travel 100 miles or 150 miles. The US is a hell of a lot bigger, having to get on a plane and go to 2 different cities in 3 days or something. It is unbelievable, the toll it can take on players. And I think for me the biggest thing will be getting that first goal. I think Orlando get the goal, the crowd relaxes, the atmosphere goes up another notch, and you'll see a few of those Columbus players thinking, I feel tired. My legs are a little bit tired here, and this humidity and the crowd are bouncing, and you've got Kaka running at me. And like I said before, Rivas, that electricity down that left-hand side, everything points in Orlando's favour. But the biggest thing to do is try to get that first goal. If we can get that first goal, build from there, because then you can keep the possession game going. Like Incy likes to do, knock it round, keep spreading the ball, get it back, move it from left to right, and make them chase the ball. And chasing the ball, listen, I've been to Orlando many a times, walking around those theme parks is hard enough in that weather. So running around after Kaka, 1-0 down with a 30-odd thousand fans bouncing, hey, it's not going to be easy. So let's get that first goal and take it from there.
All right, so there's the match preview. I just personally am a little apprehensive that CERN will be out. That would be the only disadvantage that we have that I can think of. So we'll jump right into projections. Baz, be our guest. You can go first.
I'm going to say 2-1 Orlando.
2-1 Orlando.
Kaka
Ron?
with the winner.
Oh, Kaka, you think
yeah,
it's a goal from open play or a PK?
I think we can get both.
I'm going to say penalty. I think a PK for Kaka.
All right. Ron?
I really like that score prediction, 2-1, but I don't want to do the same thing. So I'll go with I'll go with something crazy. I'll go 3-2. I don't really, that many goals is probably unrealistic, but if we get down a goal, we're probably going to have to score 3. But I think, like Baz said, if we can get the first goal, and that you might just see Columbus take the rest of the day off and just say, you know, this tournament isn't for us. It didn't shape up well with how we have to go on the road. So get that first goal, and then either the floodgates open or maybe you just hold the ball all game. You can get out with a 1-0 or 2-0 victory.
Yeah, you can park the bus if we have the talent to do that. I don't know that we have the ability to do that. But anyways, so Columbus has 4 losses and 4 draws away this season. They've only scored 6 goals, and and 2 of those are against us, and 3 of those are versus Richmond. So they don't really score that much away. I am going to predict a 1-1 draw, and I think we're going back to penalty kicks. And I think we're going to win in penalty kicks, and I think shit's going to get fucking wild, to be honest with you guys. I think it's going down, dude. And so that's it. Special thanks to Baz. There he is. You can find him. And what's your mate's name?
Pat.
Pat, you can find them at the MLS Show on Twitter. They just do a general show for fans in UK. Do you want to talk a little bit about your show at all?
Come along, watch it. We talk everything. I always throw as many Orlando references in as I can, as I can get away with. But yeah, you know, we're just 2 Scousers talking Major League Soccer from this side of the pond, and everyone's welcome. Come and get involved and educate us as well, because we're learning all the time.
All right, Ron. Any other general points you got, or anybody? No, you're good.
I'm
all right.
good.
Well, thanks again, Ron. And this is my typical ploy. You can find Ron on Twitter at City Soccer Talk. You can read his articles at citysoccertalk.com. So read Ron's articles. It's good shit. You guys can find me. My Twitter handle is at the bottom of the screen. My website is oclionsfan.com. And I have all intentions of being at Gate C this week. So come by for fan cam. I'm the only one in the MLS doing it. Sorry I missed last week. I was just unable to attend. So, you know, scheduling is what it is, and I feel bad for missing. But I'll be out there this week. You know, like us, comment, subscribe, whatever you guys want to do. Let me know. I asked if anybody had any topics they wanted to hear. I had no one. Same guy, Edwin_Gunn, wants to hear about transfers, but we'll address that when the window opens. So thanks for the watch, guys. Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Baz. Appreciate your guys' participation as always. Feel free to give us any of us a shout. Vamos Orlando!